The movie kicks off with a badly injured guy named Jack, sitting alone in a parking lot. He's surrounded by a group of gang members who are there to finish him off. Why? Because Jack screwed up a job. He was supposed to kill a man named Payback, but instead he accidentally killed Payback's family member and let the real target escape. Just when things look hopeless, a tall, muscular man with a huge cross on his shirt walks in. It's Payback himself. Without a word, he starts blasting the gang members. Most of them drop instantly, but one guy turns out to be no ordinary human. Bullets don't affect him at all. Payback has no choice but to go head-to-head with him. After a brutal fight, Payback breaks his opponent's limbs and crushes the last thug's skull with his bare hands. Jack, gasping for breath, thinks he's been saved out of kindness. But that illusion doesn't last long. Payback didn't rescue him. He only cleared the room so he could settle his own score. Jack had murdered Payback's daughter, and now Payback wanted justice his way. He believes evil should be wiped out, even if it means getting his hands bloody. So, without hesitation, he points his gun at Jack and shoots him in the head. Before Payback can leave, though, the police arrive and arrest him. The story takes place in a world where people with superpowers exist. Some can control lightning, others have insane strength, and a few can even cause explosions. To deal with people as dangerous as Payback, the government built an ultra-secure, high-tech prison designed specifically for criminals with superhuman abilities. Payback had taken down nearly 40 to 50 people, so he was sentenced to life imprisonment in this special facility. The prison is run by a corrupt and ruthless man named Walton Devlin. He doesn't like being called the warden. He prefers the title overseer. Rumor has it he secretly kills any inmate who tries to escape, but when a TV reporter confronted him, he simply laughed it off, calling those stories nonsense. Devlin openly admits that this place isn't meant to reform criminals, it's built to make them suffer. Not long after, a few new prisoners are brought in. Among them is Payback himself. The other inmates already know who he is. His name is infamous. Then, Captain Brody, one of the senior security officers, steps forward to explain the rules. He tells them their powers will now be completely controlled through a device called PNE, locked around each prisoner's ankle. With that device active, no one in the prison can use their powers, no matter how strong they are. Among the new prisoners, there's one who stands out, not because he's dangerous, but because he's different from the rest. His name is Diego Diaz, and his power is that he can sense other people's emotions. Unlike the other criminals, he's calm and kind, which makes living in a place like this extremely hard for him. When guard Morales checks his power, she laughs and warns him to be careful. When it's Payback's turn, Morales realizes that he is the most powerful prisoner in the jail. One guard jokingly tells Payback that he doesn't seem as scary in real life as he does on TV. But when Payback glares at him in anger, the guard immediately steps back, and Payback chuckles. Suddenly, Morales punches Payback in the stomach, forcing him to drop to his knees. Morales is extremely strong and makes it clear that she won't tolerate any bad behavior. After that, all the prisoners are given their belongings and sent to their cells. Sometime later, Payback goes out to the prison yard, where he encounters a prisoner named Jim. Shockingly, Jim is his brother, the same brother Payback had killed before. Jim was already out for revenge, and the moment he saw Payback, the fight erupted. Payback landed a series of brutal punches on Jim's face, causing blood to start trickling down. Devlin, watching everything unfold on his CCTV from his office, seemed to enjoy it like he was watching a movie. Morales and the other guards just stood there, not bothering to stop the fight. Meanwhile, Diego was talking to another prisoner, Godon, asking if the guards would really just let them kill each other. Calmly, Godon replied that the guards wouldn't step in unless someone was about to die. During the fight, Jim managed to hit Payback's nose with his elbow, drawing blood. Payback wiped the blood across his face, forming a cross, like the one on his shirt at the beginning, a sign that he still had faith in God. He quickly regained the upper hand, overpowering Jim with his strength. Just as he was about to finish him off, the guards shocked both of them with electric batons. Morales ordered Payback to stand down, but when he refused, she beat him into submission. After the fight, Godon started befriending Diego. It felt like they already knew each other, and Godon began showing him around the prison, explaining some important rules. Never cause trouble, especially in shared areas. Don't get involved in other inmates' fights. Breaking this rule would lead to harsher punishment. Never pay anyone's money, whether it's guards or fellow prisoners. Godon was a model prisoner, focused on behaving well and eventually earning his way out. Godon shared these rules with Diego to keep him safe. Curious, Diego asked about a dangerous prisoner named Lust, who supposedly had the power to control people's minds. Godon explained that Lust had once forced a mother to kill her entire family. As they walked further, Godon lowered his voice and pointed toward a cell. "That's where Lust is kept," he said, warning Diego never to cross paths with him. Lust was the most dangerous criminal in the entire prison, and without the special device on his ankle, he could be lethal. Just then, a massive mutated prisoner walked past. He looked terrifying and incredibly strong. His name was Darius, and he was Lust's personal enforcer. Even Godon stayed quiet and cautious in his presence. At the same time, Lust was taken for a parole hearing in a darkened room. His face was covered so he couldn't use his mental powers. The parole board was hidden in the shadows, and this was already his fourth attempt. Still, he was denied release. The board warned him that his rage was a danger to the world. Angry and frustrated, Lust shouted insults at everyone and realized he might never get out of prison. Sometime later, Devlin shows up to talk to Lust about his upcoming retirement. He complains that working at the prison never made him rich, and then he makes a secret offer. Devlin tells Lust to hand over all his money and funnel his hidden fortune into Devlin's account. Rumor has it that Lust had tricked people with his mind and earned billions. In exchange, Devlin promises to get him out of prison, but Lust refuses the offer. Devlin mocks him, calling him weak and powerless now, insisting that he should accept the deal while he still can. Lust stays silent, though deep down it seems like he might have no other choice. Meanwhile, in the prison hospital, Dr. Isabel is treating 2 inmates in Payback. Payback's injuries are minor, but one of the other prisoners has a severe head wound so bad his entire skull was cut. Shockingly, the prisoner begins to heal himself using his powers. Guard Morales comes in for a routine check right then. At the same time, Diego is cleaning the clinic, picking up trash when Morales scolds him. Dr. Isabel notices and doesn't like it. After Morales leaves, she apologizes to Diego, telling him not everyone in prison is bad, and explains the conditions of some patients. A little later, Morales returns to inform Dr. Isabel that Lust is ready for his psychological evaluation. The doctor heads to him, leaving Diego behind. Just as she starts her assessment, Payback regains consciousness and sneaks up from behind. He knocks the doctor out and starts planning to attack Lust. But Lust doesn't flinch, he smiles, completely unfazed by the threat. As Payback prepares to strike, Diego charges in from behind, holding him off long enough for a guard to arrive and intervene. Diego saves Lust, but in doing so, he breaks the prison rule of not interfering in other inmates' fights. From that day, Diego becomes famous among the prisoners, earning their respect. In gratitude, they even offer him sweets. Godon tells Diego he did a great job and advises him to use this newfound respect wisely, as it could help him survive and thrive inside the prison. A little later, Darius approaches Diego and tells him that Lust wants to speak with him. Diego follows Darius to Lust's cell, where Lust thanks him for saving his life. He then gives Diego a taskwork in the kitchen in Darius's place and bring him everything he needs. In return, Lust promises that once Diego completes the plan, he'll help him escape from prison. Diego wants to escape, but isn't sure if he can trust Lust. Meanwhile, in the warden's office, Devlin's assistant Felicia warns him that dealing with Lust is extremely dangerous and that he can never be trusted. Devlin, however, says that running a prison full of dangerous criminals requires being smarter and tougher than them. He tells Felicia that if she wants to become the next warden, she must also learn to be ruthless. To prove his point, he shows her 2 letters, one recommending her as the future warden, and the other listing her mistakes that could disqualify her. Devlin says that her actions will decide which letter he sends to the higher authorities. The next day, after a medical checkup, Dr. Isabel clears Payback to leave the hospital, though this time he's handcuffed to the bed to prevent him from harming the doctor. A guard is stationed to watch over him. At the same time, Godon's parole hearing is underway. Godon tries his best to prove he has reformed, insisting he's never fought anyone or broken any rules, but the interviewer points out that Godon is completely alone. No one writes to him, no one visits him. He concludes that Godon is not ready to return to society. Hearing this, Godon loses his temper and yells at the interviewer. The man had been waiting for this exact reaction. Because of Godon's outburst, his parole is denied, and he is forcibly dragged out of the room. Behind the dark walls of the prison, it seems clear that Devlin is manipulating the parole system, ensuring that no one gets out. Godon is left crushed and defeated after the rejection. Later, in the cafeteria, Diego approaches Godon to check if he's okay. Godon says he's fine, but it's clear he's broken inside. Soon after, Darius arrives and places a broken device in front of Godon. It's his PAA control device, the one that suppressed his powers. Using it, Godon restores his abilities. This was all part of Lust's plan. When Godon's parole was denied, he was supposed to spark chaos in the prison. Godon first thanks Diego for his friendship, then begins provoking the guards. One of them notices that Godon's control device is gone and calls for backup. Climbing onto a table, Godon grabs an electrified wire, channels the electricity into himself, and his powers return. For the first time in a long while, he smiles, thrilled to feel his strength again. He strikes a guard with electricity, killing him instantly. Panic erupts in the cafeteria, and the other prisoners scatter. Diego runs over, shocked, yelling, "What have you done?" But it's already too late. Godon then overloads the prison's power supply, shutting down the facility. Meanwhile, Jim and others start the riot as Lust had planned. Payback and Jim fight again, but guards shock them with electricity. Lust sits calmly in his cell, watching everything unfold according to plan. Taking advantage of the chaos, Godon sneaks toward the hospital, planning to hide and later escape. Meanwhile, Felicia shows Devlin CCTV footage, revealing how Godon regained his powers. Devlin orders, "Find Godon, now!" Godon, watching outside from the hospital, is suddenly struck from behind. It's guard Morales. She reports to Devlin, who orders her to finish the job. Morales hesitates, but with no other choice, brutally beats Godon, splitting his head. Her face shows she doesn't want to do it, but she has no choice. The incident is covered up, with Devlin lying to the media, claiming Godon fell to his death while escaping. One reporter questions the story, knowing Devlin's history of lies. Later, Diego talks to his wife over the phone, but Morales interrupts, telling him Devlin wants to see him near Lust's cell in the solitary section. Devlin shows Diego a terrifying high-security cell, meant to intimidate. The interior looks like a storm, capable of killing a person in a second. Devlin begins questioning Diego, asking what Lust asked him to do. Diego explains it was just kitchen work, referring to something called the carpal tunnel. Devlin releases him, but warns that Diego must report everything Lust says or face severe consequences. Later, Devlin confronts Lust directly about the incident. Lust denies involvement. Devlin, enraged, reminds him of their deal. If Lust doesn't comply before Devlin's retirement, he will face solitary confinement. Lust realizes escaping alone is impossible, so he promises to transfer the money on Devlin's retirement day, but requests the prison Wi-Fi password in return. Devlin laughs and walks away, leaving the prison staff to deal with the aftermath. At that moment, Felicia, Brody, and another officer are inspecting the electrical system in the basement. Diego's mention of the carpal tunnel had prompted Devlin to order a full check of the tunnels. The staff quietly discuss what happened to Godon. Felicia feels guilty about the prisoner's death, while Brody, though troubled, thinks of it as necessary to protect the prison's reputation. One officer suggests he could fix the generator with a little time and help, and Felicia insists it's done before Devlin's retirement, warning that anything could go wrong on that day. Repairs in the basement and electrical system begin and eventually finish. Felicia reports to Devlin and asks about her promotion prospects. He tells her that the board is still deciding, but that she has a good chance of becoming warden. As Devlin's retirement approaches, tension rises among the staff. Diego asks Lust what's really going on. He wants to escape but hasn't received any signal yet. Lust tells him to stay calm and wait. Nothing should be done until Friday, Devlin's final day on the job. The next morning, Felicia receives an email. Brody has been chosen as the next warden. Furious, she storms into Devlin's office, shouting that he promised she would be the warden. Devlin stays calm, explaining that the board made the decision and that the competition was fair. When Devlin's retirement day finally arrives, everyone braces for what's about to unfold. True to his plan, Devlin appoints Brody as warden and assigns Felicia as his assistant, telling her she is valuable for the prison's operations. Felicia is left devastated and frustrated. Immediately after, Devlin goes to Lust's cell to collect the money. He hands Lust a tablet and tells him to transfer the funds, assuring him that everything will go smoothly. But Lust has other plans. Instead of transferring the money, he hacks the tablet and disables all the prisoners' PAE devices, restoring their powers. He had already stolen the Wi-Fi password from Devlin, who had foolishly used the same password across all security systems. With the devices offline, chaos erupts. A massive riot breaks out across the entire prison, exactly as Lust had planned. Things go completely off the rails in the prison. With the PAE devices offline, the inmates finally get to use their powers freely. Some breathe fire, some release toxic gas, a few regenerate instantly, and others just become insanely strong. Guards run for cover, leaving Officer Morales standing alone, fighting like a one-woman army. In the clinic, Diego gets his powers back. He's pumped, but Dr. Isabel keeps him calm, making sure he doesn't go overboard. Felicia realizes how bad things have gotten and tries to alert Devlin, but he's already trapped inside Lust's cell. Another move in Lust's clever plan. Chaos spreads everywhere. Inmates are attacking guards and each other. Payback and Jim run into each other, and Jim starts dominating the fight. Just as he's about to finish Payback, another inmate distracts him, giving Payback a chance to escape. Meanwhile, Brody is trying to reset the power in the basement. Jim follows him, making it even trickier. After a tense scramble, Brody breaks a pipe, releasing gas that blinds Jim, who stumbles into the generator and dies instantly. Back in Lust's cell, Devlin thinks he's in control, focused on the money he got from Lust. But Lust drops a bomb. He hacked the system and disabled all PAE devices just using Devlin's Wi-Fi password. Devlin still doesn't realize Lust has one more trick up his sleeve. Devlin strikes Lust in a moment of rage, and as the power comes back, the PAE devices reactivate. Guards rush to Lust, and Devlin orders him into maximum isolation. But here's the big shift, he announces Felicia as the new warden. She takes full control, finally in charge of the prison. Payback, sitting on the pile of fallen inmates from the riot, laughs like he's won, soaking in the chaos he caused. A few days later, Diego learns he's being transferred to a different prison, where his ability to read emotions will be more useful. Felicia officially takes over as warden, removing Devlin's nameplate and running the prison smoothly. Brody steps down and hands his captain role to Morales. In the final twist, Devlin shows up to take Darius away, but it's revealed the real Devlin is gone. Lust has transferred his consciousness into Devlin's body, leaving the original Devlin to rot. All the money, the chaos, even Felicia becoming warden, it was all part of Lust's plan. The prison may seem stable now, but power and cunning are still very much alive.